Well, welcome to my show, and it's nice to get another perspective. A lot of this stuff with us actually kind of started in Britain, didn't it? There are a lot of progressive things that happened over there that kind of bled over here with Fabian socialists, that kind of thing, kind of bled from there over to here with the...
Yeah, there's a lot
and we picked up on a lot of that at the turn of the century.
There's a lot of to and fro across the Atlantic in terms of political ideas, some good and some bad. Obviously, the great concern you have here is that you're going to lose this sort of American dynamic, the get up and go opportunity culture, which has made America what it is. The great concern I see expressed here is that increasingly there's a move to sort of socialize, Europeanize, if you like,
So you
America.
have no problem. See, it's very funny. The people in this country, for some unknown reason, I don't know why, because as I said, I'm not a pundit, I'm a game show host, I'm a citizen that has a point of view. That's really who I am. But I have a certain amount of celebrity, so people sometimes will listen to what I'm saying for no other reason than that. But I've noticed that every person on Fox, on CNN, on NBC, ABC, CBS, they choke on the words socialism and socialist, even though we have been socialists for a long time. I mean, for 40 years, probably, maybe 50 years, maybe longer than that.
Well, we all use words in different ways. I mean, for example, the word liberal here means something slightly different to what it does.
Well, it's a little more pejorative because of how it's changed its connotation, so to speak. And so, but socialist, I don't think, is pejorative in the fact, other than people know that Americans don't like the word, and so they assume that it's pejorative, when in fact it's only descriptive of what they are and what they're doing.
Well, I'm not sure that's quite right. Socialist goes right back to an ideology which takes a lot of its origins from Marxism and things like that.
Well, it's Hegel. So you go back.
So the political roots and philosophical roots of socialism are ones which many of us really don't like.
Exactly.
So if we want to produce buoyant, dynamic, competitive economies, and if we want better futures for our children, socialism doesn't work.
Well, it would be capitalism and supply-side economics. It's Milton Friedman as opposed to Keynes.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Or Austrian economics as opposed to Keynes.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me that when Nixon in the 70s took us off the gold standard, he turned as an aside to the camera. He didn't say it straight into it, but he turned to the side and he said, well, I guess we're all Keynes now. And I thought, what does he mean? I had no idea who Keynes was and what he thought and what he felt, and it's just a very centralized government, socialist kind of economic plan. And so the entire world is on this plan now.
Well, it's based on the idea that governments spending taxpayers' money know better than the taxpayers what to do with it.
Well, let me see if you guys can identify with this problem in Britain, because here's an interesting problem we have. We have a thing called Social Security.
Okay.
We pay into it. An average couple will pay, say, $576,000 over their lifetime.
Yeah.
They will get back maybe $565,000. So they don't even get back what they pay in. So now we're at a place where we don't have that $565,000 to pay back. We have to borrow that money.
Okay.
So now they've paid into the system. We're paying them back on a promise, but we have to borrow the money from China or you or whoever will take those bills. Now that's debt that we've incurred that we have to pay for again. So you got to pay for it. It's double what it costs. So it'll cost us $1 million to pay off that $500,000. It's insane. And it's supposed to help us. Do you have anything that's kind of like that?
I mean, in the United Kingdom, we have a National Health Service. A lot of people have a lot of affection for it. A lot of people say it's the best health service in the world. I don't know actually on what basis they say that, because I've lived in many countries, and there are many other countries with a better health service.
Can you afford your health system you have?
We don't spend the money well. I mean, this is a characteristic of, if you like, public sector bureaucracies. There's a lot of waste. but it's becoming increasingly expensive. I think we're finding that in all of our countries. Healthcare, people are more demanding. The medicines and the technology of medical practice are more and more expensive.
But you know, the liberal kind of left, maybe it doesn't mean the same thing in your country, but in our country, the progressive kind of left of our country says, yeah, but you know, you're being unkind and you're being insensitive and you're not caring, you're not your brother's keeper, and I mean, they'll quote biblical scripture to get under your skin with it.
Yeah.
And that's and it's like they say, it doesn't matter, we can pay, we're a rich country, we have plenty of money, we can do this.
Well, most continental European countries actually have an insurance system and a safety net for those that can't afford things like that.
Right.
And it works perfectly well. We have a different system, basically free at the point of delivery, but people pay for their prescriptions and things like that.
Right.
So it's not entirely free, even though we talk about a free national health service.
Of course, we closed the donut hole with our Republican friends. You know, actually, that's, you know, now we don't pay much for our prescriptions.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a big issue over here, and I'm very struck by people of all social classes. Seem to be very cautious about these Obama proposals on health care.
Well, tell me, as a Brit,
yeah,
and in part of Parliament, right?
Yeah.
How do you evaluate our system? In your honest terms, looking at it, saying, okay, I've seen this, and as someone who's not in your country or not part of this is my evaluation. I'd be very interested to see how good or bad. I don't really care.
Well, I mean, just as a general point, whenever I come to the States, and I come over maybe a couple of times a year, I always feel energized.
Do you?
When I come
Why
here.
is that?
Yeah, people just have this get up and go mentality. It's a great opportunity society. If you work hard, you can achieve anything. And people feel that that's possible. I think you're an optimistic
That's interesting
society.
to know.
No, you're an optimistic
I think
society.
that's true. That's probably.
And I think generally we're a quite pessimistic societies
Why do you think
in
that
Europe.
is? I mean, that's very
I don't know. We're
psychological.
Yeah, I
approach.
mean, on the one hand, we're enormously proud of our traditions and our history and all the rest of it, but sometimes we're sort of we're burdened down by the whole weight of history.
And the Bible says, "Be ye not bound by the traditions of your fathers, but be free."
Yeah. No, exactly. I set a great store by our traditions. I think they're very important, part of the conservative philosophy, if you like. But at the same time, we need to be looking ahead and, you know, engaging in and taking a lot of lessons from the US in this respect. So my concern would be if we dampened that ardor in the United States, if we saw no longer did people think it was necessary to get out of bed in the morning and get out and do a day's work because someone will still pay their way for them, and that's a course that you need to avoid.
It's a very dangerous tipping point, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny. I want to share this with you because I really appreciate you coming and sitting down and being very candid on how you feel about our system as well as yours. I was looking at George Washington, who was kind of a nemesis for you guys, but I was looking at what he quoted and trying to figure out what these guys thought 230 years ago and what was going through their minds. And what dawned on me was Brit, French, Spanish, American, it didn't matter. We were who we were, and we're not going to evolve in some kind of superhuman being. We had the same thoughts, the same problems have been around, not for hundreds of years, they've been around for thousands of years. So, keeping that in mind, I looked at this quote from Washington, which I'd never heard before, and he was describing what government wasn't, what it is, and what it could be in a very succinct manner. And it was, I thought it was very deep. And he said, government is not reason. It is not eloquent. Government is force. It's a dangerous servant. It's like fire and a fearful master.
Yeah.
Well,
the question is,
true.
does the government and the state serve the citizen, or does the citizen serve government and the state? Now that's the...
So we have gone beyond, in so many countries, including our own, I believe, the dangerous servant to a fearful master. I believe that now the public in our country, and maybe in many other countries, you could be the judge of your own, whether they are serving the government or whether the government is serving them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like to think historically, but certainly in my lifetime, I've grown up in a very free country in the United Kingdom.
Right.
Where you weren't, if you like, afraid of the police. You didn't think that government and authority in that was somehow rather...
Well, the class system's kind of gone there too, right?
Well,
those lines have been broken.
We still have elements of that. It means different things in the UK to what it does here, right. I think.
I can remember when people used to kind of appreciate people of wealth and class, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, I mean, this is the other great thing about America. People appreciate success here. Whereas I think in a lot of European countries, if people are successful, then they've got to pull them down. And that's, we really need, if we want to get ahead, we've really got to start encouraging success in every possible way.
It's the only way we can grow, because the only way we get out of these problems, I believe, is growth.
Absolutely.
Not by taxing, not by spending, but certainly by growth. Yeah.
And meanwhile, you see, I sit in the European Parliament. We're part of this European Union. So many of its major policies have been disastrous for not just the United Kingdom, but for Europe as a whole. And I don't yet see the political will among other European countries to actually break out of this in the right sort of way. And the European Union is heading in the wrong sort of direction. It is overly socialist, culturally socialistic in its attitudes. And I would say it is not, the European Union is not potentially a good partner to the United States. It's got its own agenda.
It can't be. If it's socialist, it's not even a good partner to its people. But, I mean, you're ex... I don't want to say, I'm trying to think of not president. What was she? Margaret Thatcher. She was
Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister.
Yeah, I had tea with her about 4 days ago.
Well, she said it as brilliantly and simply as anyone did, and I know you know the quote very well, but, socialism it's fun, it's great, until you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work so well.
Well, exactly.
And we're at the place where we're running out of other people's money.
Yeah.
As government grows, you diminish the private sector, which supports government, so pretty soon government takes over everything, and you got nobody to support these people, and then they start burning tires in the street.
Yeah, well, socialists are very good at spending other people's money.
Yeah. But they're not very good at making money, are they?
No. And they don't spend it well.
Yeah. Listen, Geoffrey, I so appreciate you coming and talking with me. Thank you so much.
Very good to talk to you.
Very enlightening, and I've learned some things that I didn't know about Britain, and I'll tuck those away and save them for later.
And good luck, and I hope people make the right choice in November.
Thank you so much.